Yes, this might be the end of the trip. This is the road, yeah. This is only the beginning. It's somewhere near the destination, so we've skipped quite a lot already. It is summer. The sisters are caulking window frames with oakum. It is mist. Yeah, sure, it's the first day. Here the guys are carrying an iron girder, so they were overhauling everything, including floors. Oh, they seem to climb down into the sewer in a protective garment. They do quite different jobs there. I wonder how they manage to switch between them. She's doing such careful work here. This is in the printing works, proofreading. I personally like this scene. There are probably a lot of skilled workers there. No, I don't think so. Look, is she supposed to be a professional? I think they were learning along the way. Still, they might have some skilled people as well. Well, this is really back-breaking work. You can say that again. I wonder how they can adapt to it. Some overpass intersection. It is in Finland. Yep. Kitchen. It's a women's domain here, of course. Here, they're unloading a truckload of cube stones. All right, St. Petersburg is left behind. We are on the Vyborg road, and now, as our driver says, once you're on the road, just step on the gas. Our nearest goal is Vyborg. After that, we will turn to Lappeenranta, pass through Kouvola and Lahti, turn to Riihimäki, and continue along the Helsinki-Tampere highway towards our final goal, Tervakoski. The road up to Vyborg is smooth and straight, and most of the time it goes through the forest. The name of this highway is Scandinavia. It is very busy and full of semi-trucks. All this truck traffic goes through Finland to Russia. What's this? It's one of the first videos. Here, they're only clearing debris from the courtyard. And what's this? Here, they're already paving the gateway passage. When empty, traveling to Finland is as simple as a leisure drive, but the way back with a load is entirely another matter. Everything will be much harder then. It looks like big trucks are on purpose trying to push you into the oncoming lane, which of course is not true. On the contrary, professional drivers are very careful. If they're going together, they keep distance and always leave a good gap between them and the vehicle in front. It's just the difficulty of the trip that makes you think that all the circumstances are against you. However, all that will take place on our way back, when we are returning home to St. Petersburg with a load of several tons. But now everything is light and easy, and we are driving to Finland. And what's here? Here they had to cook in the open air. They didn't yet have a refectory at that time. Lifting construction materials here. Why are we traveling to Finland? The answer is simple. We're going to Mr. Upe Poutiainen. For those of you who don't know, Upe means help with medical equipment, wheelchairs, toys, foodstuffs and the like. Now we're going through Vyborg, then we should turn to Lappeenranta. The list of those whom Upe helps is impressive. Orthodox monasteries and churches, orphanages, hospitals in Finland, Russia, Baltic states, Armenia and other former Soviet Union countries. He receives gratitude letters and calls, but he himself regards his work as a duty to God. The same period again, pretty early footage. They're filling cracks in the window frames, aren't they? They're preparing windows for plastering. Here you can see that they couldn't quite master the camera yet, because it's shaking all the time. We're driving down a very old road along the Saima Channel. Now we will go across the bridge and the lock gate below it. We are in the Russian border area. The Finns call this road the Suicide Road. All right, here we are. This is a customs area. There are always tough inspections and difficulties on our side, which results in long lines. Once again, it took us a lot of time today. Now we have to pass through the border post. On our side, it is away from the customs post, and then we'll get to the Finnish side. We're approaching Finnish customs. On the Finnish side, the border and the customs checkpoints are located in one and the same building, and you can go through all the formalities much faster. But in sum, we wasted too much time on crossing two borders, so now we can hardly reach our destination today. These are the same recordings, I mean, from the same time period. And here they seem to be in the rain. Maybe they're wearing waterproof capes because of the dust. You can see there's cement and things there. In the beginning, Upe had such an incident happen to him. He sent a donation for a children's hospital. Just the usual set of clothing, food, wheelchairs, baby diapers, and something else. In St. Petersburg, it was received with gratitude, but it did not come to distribution. The chief physician of the hospital had a problem. He had no funds to pay the bills for equipment, so he decided to take a risk and to sell part of the donation, hoping that Upe would never know. Nobody knows how, but finally Upe learned about it. So enraged was he on hearing of it that he did not accept any explanations. That's all. I don't want to know him anymore.
Как же он бушевал, когда узнал об этом. Не принимал никаких объяснений. Все, больше знать его не хочу.
This is the same episode over again, where they are doing paving, but it's already at night. Here they are sealing a ceiling, but this is apparently already a kind of interior finishing works. Difficulties on the trip start to occur in late fall, when water freezes on the road surface in the lowlands. Finns call it black ice. It is invisible on the pavement. A single careless movement and the driver may lose control. The car may skid into the oncoming lane and... We took some pictures of one of our accidents. Our vehicle left the road and toppled onto its side in the road ditch, exactly at the place where there were no trees, no stones, no stumps, not even a twig. Moose are another danger. Radars are put in the most dangerous zones to detect big moving objects. If they start blinking, it means it's time to reduce your speed, because moose do not realize danger. Here they are sawing some sort of plasterboards. Well, it's not women's work. Not in the least, but yet it's better than carrying heavy sacks. Sure, but still, they seem kind of inexperienced. It's quite clear they're not doing it for a living. Just look at them. You can see how handy they are. It's really nice to see how they are doing their work. It kind of wakes up inside the man. They even might not be aware of it. It is especially difficult in winter, when the road conditions get tough. The roadway narrows, it is dark and slippery, and when a blizzard hits, the wind seems to be blowing you off the road. The vehicle operates in overload conditions and often breaks down. Once there was such an incident on the road. The engine started shooting into the exhaust pipe, and then it shut off completely. There was a car behind us. It stopped. The driver, a Finn, got out and began to help. An oncoming Finnish truck stopped as well, and its driver ran up to us. We fixed up the car quickly, but the next moment, bang! A Finnish jeep drove into our car, and both our helpers got badly injured. I remember their names to this day, Arska and Yuri. I think it's the same period. Something from the beginning. It just looks tedious. But in reality, if you look hard enough, there's a lot of variety here. On the other hand, it took them quite a long time to restore the building, and there are not that many of them, just a few dozens of people all in all. And getting skilled takes time as well. Let's turn the storyline and see who these people going to Upe are, and to whom they carry donations from Upe. This time, behind the wheel, you can see Hieromonk Alexander and interpreter Vladislav. They represent an Orthodox community which takes care of the poor. It is called the Abbess Taisii Orthodox Memorial Society and situated in St. Petersburg. Before the revolution of 1917, there was a gymnasium here. Then, till 1991, a high school, and when the building dilapidated and almost turned into ruins, the city authorities handed it over to the society. Man is created unto good works, works of holiness, fidelity, righteousness, love, mercy, self-denial, courage, and temperance, to serve various needs of the Church and motherland. Wrote Saint John of Kronstadt, whose faithful follower, Abbess Taisii, with his blessing, had founded a community of sisters in Tsar Russia. In 1991, there was no money for reconstruction, but there was prayer. It was not even common prayer, like here before meal, but one spread over the churches of the city, because everybody lived in different parts of the city and attended church services wherever it was convenient. Nevertheless, the prayer of their lips had been heard. Patrons, donors, and volunteers started appearing. And they themselves weren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs and waiting for help from above. They began to restore the building with their own hands, at the same time doing the most important things for which the Society of the Memory of Abbess Taisii was formed. The nun, who in those distant times, having founded her community, opened schools, almshouses, orphanages, icon painting and gold embroidery workshops, and revived monasteries, following the thoughts of the Holy Fathers, who claim that no word, not even a Christian one, is efficacious until it becomes a deed of the one who utters it. Today, the members of the society, named after Abbess Taisii, do the same things. But everything she was doing then has become far more complex to do under modern conditions. But let's come back to the road and Upe, or rather to the story connected with him. A strange, one might say, instructive occurrence happened to one of the 8 workers. He was bringing humanitarian aid from Upe. The border was ahead, which means inspections, weighing, limits, in a word, problems. So he decided to make life easier on himself and threw some sacks of second-hand clothes out into the forest. He crossed the border easily, but just before St. Petersburg, an accident befell him. In the open daylight, he, an experienced driver, got into a head-on collision with a truck. He was lucky enough to stay alive. When he regained consciousness in hospital, he only lamented all the time, saying, "I know the reason why. I know the reason." Let's come back to Upe's guests, that is, to those who come to fetch donations from him. At first, there were plenty of them. Trustful Upe had faith in absolutely everyone who came for donations. But after problems having arisen with some of them who, for different reasons, had started selling them in Russia, he began to deal with only the most close partners. You can trust only monks and some priests. This is his credo now, because right away you begin to have people appear who are willing to feather their nest with it and turn it into business. So better less noise and more action. The warehouse can be seen over there. We're nearly reached our destination. Upe knows we're coming, and he is probably waiting for us already at the warehouse.
Вон виднеется склад.
We've arrived.
400 километров в один конец.
We've done over 400 kilometers one way. There is a sign on the wall. Office hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, Sunday, days off. Life is routine in Finland, and everything happens according to law. But people here may work until the small hours of the morning, and days off quite often look like busy working days. People here work purely on the voluntary basis. Upe is here, but besides him, there are 3 other helpers in the storehouse. Try to guess which of these 4 men is that very benefactor, the head of the charitable organization Upe Poutiainen. Meet Slava Väisänen. He is a driver and Upe's voluntary helper. He often carries donations to Russia. This is Paavo Suomalainen. He is also a driver and he helps Upe from time to time as well. And this is Jocke Grönqvist. He is a Finn with a Swedish surname, a very shy and modest person. He came to Upe out of curiosity, but got attached to this work. And at last, we introduce to you Upe Poutiainen, the founder and full member of non-governmental organization Suomen Idäntyö, which can be translated into English as Finland's Aid to Eastern Europe, and its only regular employee. After military service, Upe worked as a guard in the system of corrections. He was promoted to the rank of deputy warden of the Helsinki prison, but at the age of 43 he was forced to retire as he was diagnosed with cardiac asthma. Pains and shortness of breath put him to bed with increasing frequency. One night I heard a question inside myself. It was not a voice, but there was clear realization of the question which was addressed to me. Will you go to where I will send you? But how about my illness? I thought, and after a while, as if an answer to my thought, I heard, I will give you a mission and strength to carry it out. Soon Upe was on his way to recovery. And after a time, he became almost absolutely healthy, which greatly astonished his doctors. Then he began to live the life of a healthy retiree, having forgotten his promise to God, until one day. At the evening prayer in the church of Riihimäki, a pastor spoke of the plight in which Russians found themselves, about the war in the Caucasus, about violence in Middle Asia, about the famine in Moldavia, and about numerous homeless children in the streets of Russian cities and towns. After that, I thought all night long how I could help all these people. The next day, I sensed a clear prompting: start begging alms. The first phone call resulted in 150 packages of biscuits. It happened on the 13th of December 1994. That was the beginning. The first that comes to mind when you hear of benefactors is their personal wealth. But Upe looks neither like a sponsor nor like a rich benefactor. His personal wealth is estimated at his monthly pension, a 25-year-old car, and a small house in the west of Finland. Upe has never used donations for his own benefit. Even while receiving guests at the warehouse, he treats them with the food products bought at his own expense. Such scrupulosity is typical for the Finns. Most of the donors, enterprises, individuals, and parishes do not think of their own advantage at all. Nevertheless, Upe pedantically collects photos from the final destinations of humanitarian aid and afterwards shows them to the donators, so as not to leave a shadow of doubt in their minds whether their donations really reach the poor and needy. Father Alexander and his assistants, in their turn, have provided a full account of their actions. They inform Upe of all their steps and intentions. They bring goods collected by Upe, sort them out, and send to orphanages and hospitals, to the old, poor, and disabled people of St. Petersburg and other regions of Russia. Orphans are the object of special concern of the community. Today, in Russia, their number has exceeded the figures of 1945. The community takes care of 11 orphanages, where there live 1,100 children. This is not the only occupation for the members of the community. Every year brings something new. First, they were busy with the reconstruction of the building, then there appeared an opportunity to be engaged in embroidery and icon painting, then a printing works was formed. Charity work is one among the other lines of activity. The organization has been built up of all these things. These activities can be also called duties of obedience. Even though this expression is taken from the monastic terminology, this is not a monastery in the usual sense, but it's rather a monastery in the world. I think the first year was the most interesting. There were a lot of difficulties then, but difficulties, as is well known, unite people. And there was such great unity and enthusiasm that even until today we have a powerful impulse to carry on our work.
How did I join the community? In '98, our daughter fell ill. Doctors said her condition was very serious. Though I was non-believer, on the advice of our fellow nun, I started to anoint my daughter with holy water, and soon she recovered. But about 3 weeks later, she was admitted to the intensive care unit with another diagnosis. In tears, not knowing what to do, I called my husband. He told me, "Pray." I rushed to the nearest church, approached an icon. In a week, our little Masha was moved from the intensive care unit to the ward. Having heard about the chain of our troubles, our priest prompted us, "You need to be baptized." Since baptism, our life has changed beyond recognition. Looking back, I understand how gracious God had been to me, how He'd been waiting for me, how He had been calling me.
I ran a small company with a friend of mine. Our business went fine, but I was tired of perpetual fuss, and money didn't bring me joy. My friend, who believed in God, withdrew from the business and left for the mountains, where he joined hermits. I thought, well, he's already almost saved, but what about me? Once I opened the Bible, started to read, attend church, confession, and partake Eucharist. I began to notice changes in myself and realized that it is not where you live, but what is inside you that counts. God looks into your heart. He sees how sincere your desire is and gives everyone what they need. I have received what I was looking for.
When I was a child, I had an idea that there is God somewhere, and if I prayed to Him, He would do something good to me. Sometimes on holidays, I used to pop into church just to light a candle, nothing more. But one day I felt his presence near me. At some point I realized there will be judgment, and I will have to give an account for all my evil deeds, so I should repent as soon as possible. My first confession was a kind of shock for me. The priests in the church talked with people, heard them out. Up till then, never had I seen people treating each other with such attention and understanding. And so it is the case here. There were no icons in my parents' home, and when I felt bad, I would come up to the window and pray to the sky simply like a child. Once I found a tiny copper cross and started to wear it. My mom warned me not to show it to anyone. I guess you know what the times were like. My husband was an atheist. He was intolerant of my faith and did not allow me to bring up my children in the faith. So I had to part ways with him. Now my children have grown up and live separately. They don't need me as much as before. I often go to see them, and they also visit our community and help us.
Our community may be compared to a muffled furnace, where all our passions and failings are burnt up. Character's adjustment is an issue for every community, but in a monastic one, it is yet sharper. The environment provokes exacerbation of all roughness of characters. Now, Upa jestingly calls his warehouse a monastery, but back then he was quite alone and I was encouraged by the initial success, but when some time later I called another place, they told me, "We don't feed the Russians." Many Finns have negative attitudes towards the Russians. It comes from long ago in history. I began to think what to do. How can I convince people at least not to throw away good food, which is not even expired, but just has crookedly labeled packaging? With the help of God, the work got a good start. First, my garage was full of goods, then my living room was full of goods, and when I had to say to my kids, "Turn around carefully so that the rye crisps wouldn't break," I was compelled to start looking for a warehouse. Before long, he founded the humanitarian organization Suomi Nidantyö, which is located in an 800 square meter warehouse in the tiny town of Tervakoski. Currently, an average of 8 van and truckloads of donations are delivered to the East weekly. About 80% of them are food products and the rest are mainly clothing, hygiene items and medical equipment. Over the course of 13 years, Suomi Nidantyö has given aid to thousands of victims of perestroika in former Soviet countries, worth a total of more than 60.1 million euro. If you imagine it in terms of cargo, it will be close to 1,000 semi-truckloads of supplies. The amount is incredible, especially if you take into consideration the origin of the goods. All of them are received as contributions from different companies and individuals. You asked me to write a few words about our work. I only took it on because I had to feed people. If you want to be helped, do the same to others. Later, there emerged an opportunity to bring loads from Finland. It's clear we're like kids, and we had and still have to struggle with our thoughts and weaknesses. These are the lines from Father Alexander's letters, in which he answered our questions during the work on the film. Hieromonk Alexander grew up in an ordinary Soviet atheistic family, attended school, served in the army, and did not think of manhood at all, when suddenly Father Alexander doesn't tell us how it happened that he became a monk. Anyway, he said, you won't believe it. He got his higher education at the Moscow Theological Seminary in the Holy Trinity St. Sergius Monastery. And next, a monk is like a warrior. He goes where he is told to go. For several years, he served in the Vala Monastery. Then he got a new obedience task, the construction of a church in the suburb of Pargolovo. And then the hierarchy appointed him to continue his service in St. Petersburg. I don't see anything unique about Upa, continues Father Alexander. He undergoes the same struggle with thoughts as all of us do. Of course, we've lagged pretty much behind him. He has plenty of generosity, which covers infirmities, and he fights against passions more successfully. But for all that, Upa would have failed to do anything without those thousands of benefactors who give him everything that afterwards passes to us. Upa's merit is that he has gathered around him a circle of Finns who are inclined to the deeds of mercy, like him. It seems that the whole of Finland takes part in this work, and so the cause of charity looks like the presence of Christ on the earth and his care for the needy. Generally, the Finns deserve all respect. They are kind, cleanly, and caring people. It can be seen from how they prepare second-hand clothes for dispatch. They wash them thoroughly and neatly pack them up. But in fact, our people don't need them anymore. That's why some drivers throw them in the forest on their way back. What a shame, but nevertheless, the Finns keep on methodically bringing their goods. I admit, I often had a hard time of it, and there was no confidence that the cause of the Church and my own status were not compromised by these trips. But it's always happened vice versa. People were becoming kinder, more understanding and tolerant, or at least distrust was disappearing. The Church prays for the authorities not in vain. They do really help us. On the journey, you can see people, their attitude to the Church more clearly. The whole gospel preaching is embodied in this difficult work of carrying and sharing of humanitarian aid to people in need. This is such rewarding work. Worship services are performed in churches, and at the same time Christ takes care of the poor and needy. I cannot stand by idly, because I know that I can help those people. I don't do this work to feel good myself. Most often I feel pretty bad and irritated when I'm worn out and the like. But I work because other people feel bad, because people die of hunger. In my opinion, a society and individuals are judged by how they treat the most weak and underprivileged people, their neighbors. My Lord, if only your love could be seen in me, just as anger and bitterness shine through those who despise you. If only I could dare utter your name as bravely as the name of the Prince of this world is repeated in everyday conversation, in homes, schools, workplaces, streets, in the media. My Lord, I would like to tell about you without fear and with the same ardor with which my friends talk about their hobbies: theater, concerts, art exhibitions, tennis, golf, horse races. My Lord, if only I had the same self-sacrifice and zeal with which a drunkard spends all his evenings sitting at the local bar and bringing all his earnings there, even borrowing money to be able to carry out his service. My Lord, if only I could describe you to my neighbors with the same skill and nicety with which the tempter leads his prey into temptations and passions in order to destroy its soul and body. Many say, who will show us any good? O Lord, let the light of your face shine upon us. You have filled my heart with more joy than they have when there is much grain and wine.
Sinä annat minun sydämeeni suuremman ilon kuin heillä on runsaasta viljasta ja viinistä.